Hello and welcome to another episode of Life and Style with Zara. I'm your host, Zara Durrani. Relationships are an important part of our lives. Everyone loves talking about relationships, whether it's with ourselves, our friends, the environment, or our creator. Today we're going to focus on the importance of connection with the divine and the role it plays in our personal relationships. First off, we're going to meet with the first gay married couple in British Columbia and talk about their faith and spirituality. Let's see what they have to say. Right now we're here in the home of Sidney and Patrick. Sidney and Patrick are one of the first few gay married couples in British Columbia. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Pretty well.
Yes. Quite well.
Well, thank you for allowing us to come here and join you. Well, let's get right to it. The topic for today's episode is relationships, and we're focusing on the importance of connecting with God and how that can affect our personal relationships. So let's start with your upbringing. What was that like for you?
Nominally Roman Catholic, but I would explain what I mean by nominally there. My father wasn't religious at all. He had converted to Roman Catholicism to marry my mother. But my mother was a very independent thinking woman and had a lot of differences of opinion with the church. And so I was raised in a different kind of way than most Catholics would be, in that I was raised to question and not simply to accept everything that I was taught.
We were talking earlier, you were mentioning about going to Bible school and growing up in a really religious background. What was that like for you guys?
I was raised Roman Catholic, went all the way through Catholic high school, but my mother, being a Presbyterian, had nominally converted to Catholicism in order to marry my father. We did attend church for a number of years, but I can't even remember at which point it was. My mom and dad had a disagreement and we just stopped going. So there was an introduction of spirituality early on and then kind of a void.
Yesterday when we got a chance to talk, you were mentioning that the coming out process was something that was really spiritual for you. Can you shed some light on that?
Okay, well, I guess when I'm talking about my coming out experience, part of that is coming out to yourself and accepting yourself. My experience of that took place while I was studying theology in seminary. I was in a very difficult spot because I was part of the church community that definitely was not welcoming to that part of who I was. And I was, my habit at that point in time was to spend about an hour in meditation each day in a special chapel that was set aside for that in the seminary. And my prayer and meditation was usually over scripture, and at that point in time I was looking at Isaiah, and actually it was Isaiah 43 in which Yahweh is talking about his love for the people of Israel. But I was reading that from a very personal perspective, and it was a very powerful, extremely powerful experience in which the words on that page were God speaking to me personally about how much he loved me personally. And that meant everything was different, because it didn't really matter what the church said. Back to my original upbringing about having a personal relationship and always questioning the church anyways. But that prayer experience meant that that God loved me, and it didn't matter. In fact,
were perfect as you are. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. In fact, I ended up feeling he had made me this way, and I should just
allow God's love to move through you.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what is your relationship with God like now? Because you were mentioning earlier you still have the relationship with divine, but it's something...
Well, that was a long time ago. That was in the early 80s, and I've grown as a person as well as aged. But I think what's happened is that I've been open to learning about other points of view, other types of spirituality and other religions, and that's informed my view of God and my relationship with God. But I still have a personal relationship with God, but I'm at a point in my life where I don't necessarily see God as an old man with white hair.
You were an Anglican priest for a long time. What was that like for you, and what was it like coming out in your parish community as well as your family?
Getting to that point was, again, moving from the void through my own sort of spiritual journey, search, whatever. It was while I was actually studying the last of my degrees that I ended up meeting somebody that convinced me that I was gay, and that didn't last because it was way back east. So when I got here, I met Sidney the very first Eucharist that I ever did at St. Paul's in the West End, and that was divine. I was always the last to understand myself. When I came out to my parents, my mother said, well, we knew that. When I was in the congregation as a priest at St. Paul's, Sidney happened to become the rector's warden, which is the position, sort of a controlling position on the council, the parish council. He didn't show up for church one morning, and one of the senior conservative type parishioners came up and asked me, is Sidney at home? Is he not well? It's like, okay, why do you ask me that? How did you know that we're living together now? Always the last to know. But glad when the knowledge finally comes. So that parish was remarkably positive, very supportive.
You folks have been together for 25 years.
25 come November.
What makes it work?
Mostly respect for each other. It was even before the legality of marriage that we felt ourselves quite committed. And that commitment is something that people shouldn't be afraid of having disagreements. Focus on the commitment to one another, on what's important, on the love, the respect, the wonderful things that you see in the other person that you would not want to be without. As Sidney had mentioned, just taking time to be together, that's also, we have commonalities that have developed over the years. When we're traveling, we both love archaeology, history, we both love going on cruises, and it just works beautifully.
Patrick and Sidney, thank you so much for allowing us to come here into your home and meeting you guys. And congratulations on your 25-year anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Canadians. We live in some of the coldest places on the planet.
But we don't huddle inside.
We make ice a national pastime.
Cold.
A source of comfort.
We're home to a guy who ran a few thousand kilometers on one leg.
We built an arm that grabs satellites out of space.
We look at tree sap and think,
that might be great on pancakes.
We put peace before war.
Health before profit.
Us before I.
we before me.
And we always find a way.
Because we can.
And can is Canadian.
The Earth needs Canada.
Because we always find a way.
And now we'll find ways to make a difference.
We can tell a friend.
Talk to a neighbor.
Or email leaders who represent us.
But could do better to reflect us.
We can bring our own mug.
Support fair trade.
Walk instead of drive.
We can design better cities.
Decrease inequality.
Create an economy built to last longer than quarter to quarter.
We can create a better world for our children, so one day they're inspired to create a better one for theirs.
We can be a living, breathing example to the rest of the world.
And we can be the voice of change
At Earth Summit
2012.
Let's show the world what we can do.
What Canada can do.
We can.
We can.
We can.
We can.
We can.
Canada.
For our Culture Cross segment this time, we have with us Farhath Patel, who is a henna expert. How are you doing, dear?
Good.
So thank you for joining us here today. You have this beautiful henna piece on your hand over here. Now, henna and mehndi, is it the same? You always hear all these different words, you get confused.
Absolutely. I have a lot of people ask me, henna, mehndi, what is it? Is it the same thing? What's the difference? It's actually the same thing. Henna is the English word. It's derived from the Arabic word hinna,
okay.
Which is absolutely the same thing. In the Pakistani and Indian culture, it's also known as mehndi, and that's also referring to the same thing again.
Now, henna, is it something that originated in the Islamic world, or where did henna first start?
It has a lot of different origins. It's dated back hundreds of years ago to ancient times. It's found in ancient Egypt, medieval Spain, Africa, India, Pakistan, the Middle East. So it's got a lot of different origins and not exactly a specific one. The Prophet Muhammad, he mentioned to his believers that you should use henna because it has medicinal qualities.
So let's take a look at this beautiful artwork on your hands over here. Now, you were saying it's a mixture of Arabic and Southeast Asian style?
Yes. So the shading and the flowers you see here, that's more of the Arabian style. And the paisleys and the vines you see here, it's more of the Indian style where it's intricate and full inside.
I remember in Pakistan growing up, a lot of the brides were getting the paisley styles, and it was so common. I always liked the more the vines and the elongated flowers. So brides in the Southeast Asian culture, they really decorate their entire bodies, almost their arms, their feet, their legs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now it's turned into a part of different cultures, like the Sikh culture, the Muslim culture, Hindu culture as well, and that's where the brides will adorn their hands with very intricate designs on both sides of their hands as well as feet, and this is thought to bring good luck and prosperity to the bride during the wedding time. And it's also really
that's something that you do on a daily basis.
Yes, and that's what I do. That's what I specialize in, and it's awesome for brides to relax as well.
You were saying that henna, when you put it on, I haven't had it done lately, but you were mentioning that it cools. It's very cooling, and tell us about that.
So basically, after the so if somebody doesn't know how you apply it, it's applied very much likely to cake decorating. So it's done with a cone, and it's applied freehand. And so after it's applied, the paste will sit on the skin, and it will take about 45 minutes to dry. And during this time, you'll feel your hands are getting quite cool, and you cannot.
So it'd be very nice for summertime.
Yes, it's awesome, and that's also applied on the bottom of the feet and the hands. A lot of ladies in Africa apply this because it's very hot there, so it gives them a cooling effect, and they'll just slap it on their hands and on the soles of their feet, and that really helps to cool them down as well. Beautiful.
And it is certainly really beautiful, so I'm looking forward to get my hand
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
lovely.
And it's changed into designs now. Like before, like I said, it's ancient art, and at that time there was no idea of making a design or using the cone, and they would just take the paste, put it on their hands, and just close their hands, and the lines in your hand would be the design.
Okay, and as times went by, they decided to look at the flowers and the plants around them. So you were mentioning that henna mehendi, it's something that is used in different parts of the world, so...
Yes, so for example, each different part of the world has their own different style of the design that they make. So like in Africa, they have more geometry, triangles and shapes like that. In the Arabian culture, it's more of floral.
I think over here I'm seeing in Canada a lot of those African as well as some of the Indian design that are mixed in.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we live in multicultural Canada, so we've got everything here, which is awesome to see. And also, like in the Indian culture, they have the bride and groom on the hands, and they've got the whole story to tell when they do with the bride.
I would love for you to do something like that.
I would love to do that for you, yeah.
Wow, this is beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for having me.
Canadians. We live in some of the coldest places on the planet.
But we don't huddle inside. We make ice a national pastime.
Cold.
A source of comfort.
We're home to a guy who ran a few thousand kilometers on one leg.
We built an arm that grabs satellites out of space.
We look at tree sap and think,
that might be great on pancakes.
We put peace before war.
Health before profit.
Us before I.
we before me.
And we always find a way.
Because we can.
And can is Canadian.
The Earth needs Canada.
Because we always find a way.
And now we'll find ways to make a difference.
We can tell a friend.
Talk to a neighbor.
Or email leaders who represent us.
But could do better to reflect us.
We can bring our own mug.
Support fair trade.
Walk instead of drive.
We can design better cities.
Decrease inequality.
Create an economy built to last longer than quarter to quarter.
We can create a better world for our children, so one day they're inspired to create a better one for theirs.
We can be a living, breathing example to the rest of the world.
And we can be the voice of change.
At Earth Summit
2012.
Let's show the world what we can do.
What Canada can do.
We can.
We can.
We can.
We can.
We can.
Canada.
Now we'll be meeting with relationship expert and dating coach, Mick Lolekonda. We'll be talking about the inner workings of dating and relationships, the good, the bad, and the ugly. How are you doing, Mick?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us and hopefully teaching us and some of our viewers some good dating skills.
Sure, absolutely.
So, we hear a lot about dating websites these days. What do you think of them?
Well,
Do they really work?
I mean, there are some success stories, of course. For the majority of people, it's not quite effective, and I find that they are not successful for them because they don't know how to properly engage people in a way that can help them find those meaningful relationships. So unless they know exactly what process to go through, they may not be the most effective way to find someone.
Because for me, I find that one-on-one, the personal energetic, like, you know, you can't really know somebody. Yes, written down, people sometimes lie about a few things. You need to have that personal connection.
Absolutely.
So what do you teach people about dating?
By dating, I mean, if it...
Like, what are some of the pointers? Somebody comes along, you said you teach people who have never dated in their lives. So what are some of the main points you tell them right from the get-go?
For those in particular, it's about focusing on themselves, knowing exactly what it is that they're looking for in a partner, and also having a clear idea as to what their emotional needs are. And also understanding what are some of those emotional blocks that prevent them from connecting with others.
So you were talking about the work. You said you've done a lot of work on yourself. What is the work? What do you mean?
The first step is the relationship blueprint, which is some of the things that I mentioned. But the other things, a lot of people who come to me believe in meeting others, I guess, organically. They want that contact, and that's another thing that I focus on. How to have this lifestyle that allows you to cross paths with people that will enrich your life and increase your chances of meeting that right person.
So what do you suggest people to do? Like, are there certain places you tell them to go? Go to the library? I heard from somebody, go to Chapters or go to the library, or, you know, what is a good place to meet people? People of quality.
Exactly, and you know, it always goes back to again your relationship blueprint, understanding what it is that you're looking for in other people, and because ultimately, you know, you are what you attract. So for instance, if you have particular interest and, you know, let's say you are into art, yeah, well, go to these places, find places where people who are on the same page as you will go, for instance.
Okay.
So always starts with you. And
so know what you want, know what you like and what you don't like, and then move from there.
Absolutely.
What is your good idea for first date, or what do you suggest to people, you know, when they come to you for dating advice? What is the perfect first date?
We all know about the typical dinner date, right? Right? But
dinner and a movie?
Exactly.
Okay.
My take is that it's so much better to have some sort of activity.
Yeah.
Or even a walk. Because it's so important to connect with somebody on an emotional level without these expectations.
Yeah.
So a nice walk.
A lot of times people show up for the dinner, everything is very proper, stiff, and then people feel like they're, you know, I mean, I feel like that. I feel like you put on the, you get like this different person.
Exactly. Exactly, for that exact reason.
Yeah.
So that's why you do something that you naturally enjoy.
You have to start acting perfectly.
Exactly. So do things that you enjoy. You know, if you enjoy going for a walk, invite somebody for a walk. If you enjoy playing tennis, invite somebody to play tennis. It's very, very simple.
Would you suggest to people that, you know, go, because I noticed that there's some groups like people who like to enjoy wine, or people who like to be outdoors, so they have their own groups, so it's a good idea for people to try things like that?
Absolutely, and also don't be afraid to break your routines. So for instance, if there are things that you wish you wish you could do or always wanted to do, just try them out.
Yeah.
Don't
put yourself out there.
Exactly. Don't get stuck in your routine.
Okay. Now, what do you find that men and women, some of the common mistakes they make when they first start dating or on a first date?
Common mistakes. Having too many expectations, too high. Expectations that are way too high. Expecting that maybe things will happen. They need to feel that connection right from the get-go. And the understanding is that it takes time.
Okay.
People should just be open to the experience and really enjoy the experience, not so much focus on the past or the future, just enjoy the moment.
Instead of thinking of, is this going to work out in the long run?
Yes.
Already planning the wedding, thinking of the babies, not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Okay.
You know, take it one step at a time. If the time that you spend with that person it was good, great. Then that's a good indicator that, okay, you should take it to the next step.
I always wonder, when people decide to get married, or you know, for example, you're engaged now, do you ever worry that you guys will grow apart? You know, instead of, as we're growing human beings, sometimes you can grow together and sometimes apart. Like, how do you know this is going to work for the rest of your life?
Well, for one, I do believe that the person that I'm with would be with me as I grow and evolve. But also, I think when it comes to couples in general, the most important thing is good communication and effective communication. Because of course, you can communicate with someone, but you're hurting each other in the process. The important thing is to have the type of communication that attend to each other's needs and really communicate that you are on the same page. That's I think the most crucial thing.
Do you feel that sometimes with communication that some people can take it overboard, or like it can go into perhaps critiquing the other person? Like, where do you find the balance in communication?
As long as well, first of all, when people are in a relationship, they understand that they are there for the other person. So anytime someone has something to bring up that has to do with, let's say, a need not being fulfilled, naturally the other person will be there for them. So I think there can be, there's no such thing as over communicating.
Now, when is a good time to say goodbye? This is not working out. How do you walk away? Especially if you've invested a few years. Some people who've been together for 10 years or have kids, and it's not working out time and time again. You realize this is not the person. How do you walk away in a clean manner?
Understanding when to say goodbye is when you get to a place where no progress can be made. Because as long as you feel that your partner is willing to do the work to make the relationship work, and there is progress over time, this is a good sign that there's a chance. So it's definitely worth hanging on to it. But if you feel that it's the opposite, then it's okay to acknowledge that, things are not working out anymore, and it's best for both of us to move in different directions.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mick. We really appreciate you coming on board. Hopefully our viewers, well, I know I have learned a lot today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Mick.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this time, folks. Until next time, I'm your host, Zara Durrani. Make sure to check out our website, lifeandstylewithzara.com.